I hope to be able to prove to any rational person, any right-thinking human being, that not only that there is a God who has created all of us and sustains the universe in which we exist, but also that God has sent to human beings guidance through which and by which we can live our lives and earn His pleasure in this life and the next. Now, for many people, the whole idea that you could prove a religion to be true is a strange idea. For many people, religion, they imagine, is supposed to be something mysterious, incomprehensible. In fact, the whole idea of faith in the minds of some people is that faith is supposed to be something that you believe without any proof. But Muslims don't hold that point of view. Rather, for us, faith is something that is established upon evidence, upon understanding, with insight. In the same way, for example, that a scientist has a theory, and that theory is supposed to be supported by evidence through observation of reality. So by observing reality, by observing the world, by observing various phenomena, the scientist comes to a conclusion based upon that observation. Now, before we start our conversation, I have to lay down a few fundamental points. Some issues that we all have to agree on. If we don't agree on these issues, you can turn off the TV now, because there's not going to be any point in this discussion if we don't agree on a few basic fundamentals. So the first basic fundamental that we have to agree on is this: that the world in which we live and this universe in which we live is real. It is real. It's really there. It's not like in the film The Matrix, is that everybody in their mind, it's a computer-generated image in their mind, and maybe reality is not reality anymore. I mean, okay, it's possible that that could be true, but what does it benefit us thinking like that? No, we have to accept that the world in which we live is real. I am real, you are real, the sun is real, the trees are real, the air is real, and this is a real world. And the way we understand our world and the way we understand ourselves is by observation and by using our minds. This is the way that we understand reality. This is the way that we make sense of our everyday lives. We use our minds, we think, we reason. And all human beings have something in common. There is something in common that makes us all human beings. There are certain physical features we have, but there are also certain mental features and ways of perceiving reality that we share. That's common to our humanity. So one of these things is what we call common sense. We can call it common sense, or the ability to reason. And there are certain things that we all agree upon. And no two human beings would differ, except that if that person differed about this, we'd say, that guy's crazy, that guy's mad. He doesn't, his brain isn't working properly. So one of the things we all, for example, let's take an example. One of the things that we all agree about is this: that the part of something is less than the whole of a thing. Part of something is less than the whole of the thing. We all agree with that? I'm sure we all agree with that. That's something every single human being everywhere is not going to argue about it. Okay. Another thing that all human beings can agree about, to give another example of something that we can all agree about, is that we don't find something coming from nothing. We don't find that. Human beings understand that where we see things working according to laws, working according to patterns, we see things constructed, we know that thing has come from somewhere. How did this universe come into existence? Where did we come from? What is the origin of all of this universe? If we can think about this and we can understand this and we can reason this, then we will find, step by step, we will come to an amazing, inevitable conclusion. So let's look at our universe. Let's look at the world in which we live. Let's look at ourselves. What we find when we observe the universe, when we observe ourselves, and we observe the world around us, we find that things are not only working according to laws and they're working according to systems and patterns, but These laws and these systems and patterns are amazing in their intricacy and their detail. And there are so many examples of this that are evident. Imagine instead of the earth rotating on its axis once every 24 hours, imagine instead that the earth was rotating very, very slowly. And in fact, a day was not a day, but it was what is now equivalent of 30 or 40 years. So what would you find? You would find that one part of the earth's surface would be almost constantly exposed to the sun. The other part of the earth's surface would be in darkness. The consequence of that would be one side of the earth would be superheated, the other would be supercooled. It would not be possible for life to exist. If there was not an ozone layer protecting us from the harmful effects of the sun's radiation, life on the earth would not exist. Could this perfect combination of gases, of movement, of various aspects, and I've just mentioned a few, be a product of some random event, of chance and coincidence? Let us, in order to understand this, go back and use what we decided already we're going to use. Let's use our process of reason. Let's use our common human experience. Is there anything in our human experience that tells us that you get such order, such fine and precise order from some random event? No. Our universal human experience tells us that where we see something working according to orders, working according to patterns, someone or something has ordered it. Someone or something made it work according to those laws and work according to those patterns. That's why, for example, an archaeologist could go and dig in the desert and find a simple piece of pottery. Just a simple piece of pottery. Yet this archaeologist will be able to tell us so many things about the civilization that made that piece of pottery without ever seeing them. He didn't see them make the pottery, he didn't see their houses, he didn't see their buildings. But this man digs in the dirt, he finds this piece of pottery, and he will tell us so many things about this civilization. Their state of technology, their transportation system, their level of intellectual capacity. Because he can examine the pottery, he can tell us at what temperature the ovens must have been at in order to bake the clay, to get it at this certain texture. And therefore from that he can deduce so many things. So for this archaeologist, the existence of this piece of pottery is conclusive proof of the existence of the people and the intelligence and the civilization that made it. If I was to say, for example, my mobile phone here, what is this mobile phone made of? Essentially, what is it made of? Two things. Silicon, which is sand, and plastic, which is oil. So here we have silicon and plastic, and a bit of leather as the cover of it. So two things, silicon and plastic. Now, in what place in the world is there lots of sand and lots of oil? Well, for example, Saudi Arabia. There's lots of sand and lots of oil in Saudi Arabia. What if I told you I was walking along one day in the desert in Saudi Arabia, and here I found this mobile phone, a product of complete chance and coincidence, random events. The oil spewed, the sun shined, the sun shone, lightning struck, and after millions and millions of years of all these geological changes and the heat and the cold and the pressure and the wind blowing, this mobile phone came into existence through mere random processes. Say this is ridiculous. Yet the human mind, the human brain, is infinitely more complex than a mobile phone, than even the world's fastest supercomputers. The human brain is infinitely more complex and has a huge capacity for computing power beyond what any human being has been able to make so far in terms of computers. It's an amazingly sophisticated machine.